Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Early Watch Morning Gun Show. I am your host, Ed Horse, and I have my co-host Tony with us. How you doing today, Tony?
Uh, I woke up alive, so that's a good thing, man. I'm doing all right.
Exactly. Every day alive is another day we can get stuff done, right?
Well, I don't know about getting stuff done. I ain't much for that. I do got to go pick up my new pickup truck today.
Oh, new vehicle today?
Well, not new. It's 2006, but
Well, new to you.
new to me, yes. Yeah, I
Heck.
bought a Dakota off my daughter.
Oh, a Dodge Dakota
Yeah, four-wheel drive, four-door,
with the V8 in it?
V8, yes.
Nice. I like those little trucks with the V8. Nice. That's a
I'm
good.
hoping it'll save on the Suburban.
Well, pulling away all that weight on the Suburban, that little Dodge Dakota's probably got to get twice the gas mileage of a Suburban, I'd assume.
I don't know. The one time I drove the truck, its trip computer said it was getting like 15.
It's 15 in the city.
Not necessarily, no. Just from city to country. I'm driving
And
real
what does
hard.
your Suburban get? Like 8?
My Suburban gets 15 on the highway,
Oh wow, man!
14.9 when I drove it to Oklahoma.
New vehicle days are always awesome, aren't they? I'm always excited for new vehicle days when I get a new car or truck or something. Even if it's not new, just new to me. That's just always a good day. Something new to play with, and yep.
Yeah, I got to go get it so they can get into their garage with the car that they bought. Although I don't know how the hell she's going to get home because she doesn't have driver's license and he's in Afghanistan.
She's in Afghanistan and they bought a new car.
Yeah.
Dang. But she doesn't have a driver's license?
Nope.
How does she not have a driver's license?
Dude, I got to tell you that out of high school, only my eldest got her driver's license when she was 16. Second one doesn't have driver's license. The third one just got him a couple of years ago because where they live, she had to be able to drive. And number four, I don't know. They never, after the first one, none of the other ones wanted to ride with Dad. And Dad's the only one who would be willing to take him out.
Well,
But their mother doesn't drive either.
I wish. How do I get to be that lucky? How do I get to save on all this insurance stuff? Like, man, my youngest just barely got his learner's permit the other day, and now I have to add him to my car insurance, and that's probably going to raise my premium like $150 a month. To have a 15-year-old kid on your car insurance. Let alone 3 kids under 18. Like, man, I wish they were like, oh, I don't want to drive. I don't want a license.
God, Progressive loves you.
Yes, they do. Oh boy. So you get your yard work done, Tony?
I have a section of tree, uh, what the fuck do they call the main part of the tree? Trunk to pick up yet. But otherwise, yeah, I got all done. The dumpster's gone. And I'm just waiting on a little bit of dry weather to dry things up so I'm not ankle deep in mud trying to pick up this wood. There's nothing really big, but it's still in a muddy spot. I got other stuff I want to do, but really, the stuff that I had to get done is done.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it is.
I know. So, how many dumpster loads did you end up taking out? 2?
Just the one.
Oh, just the one?
we need to get another one in, and we was gonna get another one in right away, but man, I'll tell you what, I just ain't physically up to it. I need to rest for a couple weeks.
I hate yard work. I don't have a green thumb at all. Like I don't mind like mowing the lawn and stuff, but man, like I just hate like all the little minutia, pulling weeds or just, edging, just gardening, trimming bushes back. I hate all that kind of stuff. I'd rather just have my kids do it or, pay a lawn care company, I guess, to do it.
Well, I would have a lawn care company if I could afford it, but I'm just physically not able to keep up like I used to. So,
That's
now
why I
I'm
want to xeriscape everything. I just want to tear out the lawn and put in like rocks and stuff I don't
sand
even have to
gravel.
waste. Yeah, I don't even have to waste water on and just save all sorts of money. And yeah, I'm totally okay with just getting rid of my lawn.
I don't really mind the lawn work. I'm not physically capable of doing lots of it. And now I'm at a point where I have to because I got trees that are growing up, uh, wild, rogue, whatever the hell you want to call it, around the foundation of the house that have to be cut out. I got one tree growing up through one of my two evergreens that uh, kind of form a gate for my sidewalk coming up the house. Got to cut that out. I got a trim tree so I can get under them with a lawnmower. Just shit that I've put off too long. I could have done a little bit of this, each month last year and had it all done, but my lazy ass. Well, I shouldn't say that because my mower wasn't running. I bought a push mower and I was trying to do all the shit with the push mower and I just did not hit it. Hey guys over at YouTube, Patrick, gun loving grandpa. I could fall into that particular category myself.
Gosh, so can I now. I still have a hard time grasping that I'm a grandpa. It's just don't call me that yet. I'm not ready to be called that yet.
That sort of thing never bothered me. I know a lot of people that I know, especially family members, that made their grandkids call them, like Papa or something like that, not Grandpa. I'm like, I earned this Grandpa tag. I expect to be called that. So, and I was not one that was bothered by turning 30, 40. 50 was a little touchy, but not bad. 60, shit, I'll be happy to make it.
Well, let's see here. As some of you may notice, today's chat's named Early Watch Free for All Friday, and it's Thursday. I definitely picked the wrong one there, but I think we're going to talk about Early Watch Free for All Friday. So on Fridays, Tony, how do you feel about opening up Early Watch on Fridays to get other people in here? On Friday, like let other people come in here, share their 2A stories or their, whether they're 2A success stories or their 2A, news. Maybe give people a chance who's never even been in one of these chats or done anything like this before over the internet to come in here and, give them a place to start, practice, learn the ropes and practice being on the internets.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I was thinking like that'd be. I think Friday would be a good day, maybe to get some people, start getting some fresh faces, new people involved, and give them a chance. Like basically give anyone a chance to come in here and talk about 2A stories and share their opinions and just open the door, so to speak. So I think we'll be.
I'm certainly open to hearing other points of view.
Oh, definitely, definitely, especially from we're a country of 50 states that span a large geographical area. And then not only that, but I'd even be open to even one of them pesky foreigners like those Canadians, and they're going through their own two-way gun battles and strife, and our cousins up north and our cousins in the south and our cousins all over the world. I'd be totally okay with them coming in, showing telling their two-way stories and the attack on their Second Amendments or their successes and whatnot.
I
So
would especially like to hear from somebody in Australia, see
yeah,
what's going on there.
yes, definitely. And actually, I might be able to make that happen. I actually have a friend in Australia, so I actually could probably make that happen. And I've heard all sorts of horror stories about that, believe me.
I had heard that they were relaxing some of that, but I don't know. Yeah, that just may be BS. So I would like to hear from somebody who's down there and got a good idea what's going on.
So if you would like a link to Early Watch Free for All Fridays, feel free to email earlywatchil@gmail.com or head on over to gunchannels.com and sign up, become a free member over there, and just message Tony or I over on Gun Channels. And we would be glad to give you a link, let you guys hop in here and talk about your 2A success stories or 2A under attack in your area or whatnot. We would love to hear from different people from different states and other Early Watch members.
Hang on a second. I just got an email about my deer permit.
Ooh, yeah, that's definitely important. So 2A news for today. So I want to talk about a post I saw from the SOF Way, Tony Cowden, and MOA Apparel. The last two were just basically reposts, but it originated on the.sof.way if you're not following them on Instagram.
Hey,
And it
Roosted.
says, what's that, Tony?
I was just saying hello to Roosted in the chat.
Oh, okay. So the post goes like this. This whole stop being poor trend in this community is both irritating and counterproductive. Our rights are being scrutinized like no other time, and we are, in fact, losing. We should be educating and welcoming people in, yet we choose to isolate an entire demographic in a community that already makes it difficult for beginners to enter both subculturally and financially. The gentrification of the Second Amendment. Yeah, that's hilarious. Then they both go on to say, one of the best warfighters I ever saw was a simple farmer of little means who'd had enough. Last I checked, it was we the people, not we the particularly well-funded. And then Tony Cowden adds to this. You're a special kind of turd when you talk down to guys who don't or can't waste money on fancy things. They don't need to shoot well. Instead of compensating lack of manhood with trinkets, do it with your shooting and motivate others to do less online shopping and more on-range shooting. And then MOA Apparel added on to this. I tried to get into golf when I was younger, and someone told me that I should buy a nice enough set that you have a spare and or have a set that you can take someone new out with you once you upgrade your beginning set. I've tried to apply that idea to firearms as well when people ask for suggestions on firearms. Know that when we make memes, we are making jokes. Perhaps I am wrong in thinking that people know we are joking. So just to clarify, I own palmettos. I've owned Andersons. I probably will buy a gazillion Palmetto lowers before the next election. So I've been saying this for a while, that it just divides our community. This elitist attitudes, and it does not help our community. I've seen other communities do this in the past, whether it was car communities, motorcycle communities, weightlifting communities, martial art communities, and all those communities grew and basically grew up out of their infancy, so to speak. The gun community has yet to do that because unfortunately, you don't have to be a certain IQ level to own a gun, unfortunately. Um, and because of that simple fact, that we get this elitist attitudes, we get these trolls, we get people who want to do nothing but divide the community. Whether it's just degrading people, putting them down for what they buy, what they own, who they are. And think about this. So the next time you're calling someone a FUD, or the next time you're degrading someone for just owning a shotgun or a revolver, and you're sitting there, you're making fun of them, and then when your AR-15 comes under attack, this guy is going to laugh and say, ha ha ha, this doesn't affect me. Say goodbye to your AR-15s. I'm not coming to your rally. I'm not throwing $20 your way. Your community is just a bunch of tactitards, and I want nothing to do with it. That's the separation you are creating when you go out of your way to talk down to somebody about their purchase or the guns that they own. When you go out of your way to degrade them and insult them, that's the divide that you're creating in the community, and you are the main problem in the community. And I'll tell you what, boy, we're going to start policing our own community. I'm going to stop buying from companies that I see spreading gun memes that degrade other gun owners for what they own. And I'm going to let those gun companies know. I'm going to stop following social media people that I see degrading other people. I'm going to stop interacting with these trolls, with these people that are, dividing our community over a cheap laugh. So just keep that in mind, that I'm not the only one. There's professionals out here in this community that are seeing the light, that are seeing the divide and the tension, and people wonder why. Oh, we have so many millions of gun owners. Where are these guys at? How come they're not showing up for our classes? How come they're not showing up for our rallies? How come they're not? Where's the money at? Where's the focus? There's a reason why. Is that most of the gun community is just infants right now. We're in our infancy. We have to grow up. We have to be able to agree to disagree. We have to be able to just, I guess, bite your lip. And if you're incapable of biting your lip, then maybe you shouldn't be in this community. Maybe you should. Go ahead, Tony.
I'm one that's willing to poke fun at somebody just for the typical fun of it. But I don't believe I've ever honestly bragged on somebody for buying a cheap gun. I I buy them. I poke fun at Ponry often enough for his guns, but that's just because Sean's my friend, and it's kind of back and forth. But I never did understand that. It's a gun, that makes him a member of the gun community just as much as somebody who's bought the absolute top of the line gun.
Yes, it does. I mean, it does. It's just like, I guess, being a car owner. I mean, I used to see a division in the motorcycle community the same way. If you don't have a Harley, you're not welcome here. You can't ride with us. Get out of here with your Honda trash. Get out of here with your Yamaha trash. That was very, very relevant in the motorcycle community for a very, very long time. And it wasn't until the whole entire motorcycle community came under attack that they learned to set aside their differences. They learned to band together. They learned to be more accepting. And now I don't know a single motorcycle group that just doesn't let anything ride with them.
Well, you know, the Hondas and Yamahas are able to take the Harley guys to the Harley shop to get parts to fix damn things.
Yeah, that is true. But I just thought I'd put that out there that there's some professionals like Tony Cowden, MOA, the SOF way. There's guys out there that are influencers that are starting to see the light. Hickok Jr. has talked about this recently. Taj, I can't ever say that guy's name. Taj Major, or you know who I'm talking about, right, Tony?
Not right off the top of my head, man.
Oh, well, I think everyone else might know that the Taj Major guy's been talking about that recently. So it definitely is becoming more prevalent. We do have an election year coming up, an important election year. We do need to band together right now, especially with some of the suppressor comments made recently. We do need to band together. We need to start getting each other's backs. We need to stop with this silliness and this divide. We really need to focus as a community. If we want to keep our Second Amendment, that's the only way to do it. These guys are smart, these anti-gunners. As much as we like to joke around with them and think that they're not smart, they are. They know what they're doing. And they're attacking us a little tiny piece of a pie at a time because the whole community doesn't fight for that piece of a pie. So when they come after 30-round mags, the community that don't use 30-round mags isn't affected by it, so they don't get up off their butts and go support the guys that affects. And and vice versa. But see that they're not going to stop with the 30-round mags. After the 30-round mags, they'll come for the scary black rifles, and then they'll come for your semi-auto handguns, and then they'll come for your wheel guns, then they'll come for your shotguns, and then they'll come for all your guns. And they're just going to keep taking little slices of the pie, and because we cannot get together as a community. We can't put our differences aside. We can't stop bickering with each other. We can't stop, we just can't stop this childness. It's literally childness that I see going on in our community right now. Grown-ass men acting like 13-year-old girls. That's what I see going on in our community right now, and it makes me just sick to my stomach.
Now, ever since I got involved in this whole damn thing, gun channels and all of it, I have been harping on this thing about why we can't even, at the very least, get off our friggin' asses and vote. I can understand people in large states can't make a rally, but you can't go vote? What the fuck is that?
That's one thing that all the gun owners should be doing is definitely voting, right? And one thing that we should be doing as gun owners is spreading a message on who we should be voting for. Gun, pro-gun and anti-gun record, their voting records, right? Is this politician I'm voting for just saying he's pro-gun? What does his record say? How has he voted in the past? At his previous positions on guns? What are his previous statements on guns? We definitely need to be sharing that information because honestly, some names come up sometimes and I have no idea. Is this guy pro-gun or not pro-gun? And I don't even think I can trust the NRA rating system anymore on who's apparently pro-gun or not pro-gun. I want to see an actual voting record, like how many anti-gun bills has this person voted for? How many pro-gun bills has this person voted for? That's the information I really want to know. I really don't want to just trust the NRA's. Oh, this guy has an A plus or this guy has a C rating. because NRA has put out articles before claiming that some guys are too pro-gun, believe it or not. So, and trying to make that look like it's a bad thing.
Well, unfortunately, we have come to a point in our history that we're not voting for anybody. We are voting against somebody.
That is true. We have a very, very important election year coming up here in just a little over a year. I really see that we're in danger right now of a repeat of the 1992 election. I don't want to see that happen. We all know what happened after the 92 election. We got the Brady bill and we got to import bans and we had other gun bills shoved down our throat during the Clinton years. And all because a lot of Republicans threw away their Bush vote for Ross Perot, all because of Bush's, tax thing. And simply because of that fact, Clinton got elected and we got a bunch of anti-gun stuff shoved down our throat. And I'm really afraid the exact same thing is going to happen this year, is that there's going to be a whole bunch of, vote for a third party and it's going to get Biden elected. And we all know Biden's track record on guns, and he thinks that we all should only be owning shotguns. So I guarantee if Biden gets elected, another Brady bill is going to come down the chute, but this time it probably won't have a sunset.
I don't know how you get through to these people. You can be as pissed off at Trump as you want, but at this point, he's not as bad as Hillary would have been.
Or as Biden will be.
I mean, who they throw up as the beacon for our freedoms, Ronald Reagan, he was not real pro-gun either.
Definitely not. I don't want to say he was necessarily big anti-gun, but he definitely wasn't pro-gun. He definitely wasn't pro-gun. He definitely instituted, we got the GCA, or not the GCA, the Hughes, right?
Right.
And then we got he did a bunch of gun laws in California when he was governor there, right?
Well, and I think he was involved with the Brady bill too.
Brady bill didn't come until 94.
I know it, but I think it started roaming around in like 84.
Oh, maybe. I don't know about that. I was too young at that time. I just remember when the Brady bill took place, and then I remember that I was old enough during the Brady bill that it affected me, going out and trying to buy high cap magazines, and they were all $100 or $150 for one, just like Glock magazine or something.
I don't know. I read that somewhere, and I may be completely off base. So, take that with a grain of salt. But
hey, Dano. Just so you know, Dano, we can't hear you.
I said, "Good morning, gentlemen," and Tony. That's an example of a joke.
And you notice I'm not offended.
Exactly.
So did you read what I read from over there from the SOF Way and Tony Cowden and stuff, Dano?
I did not, because I've literally been getting ready to, in about 45 minutes, I got to head out the door. So I literally just sat down to have my cup of coffee, flipped on the boob tube, as we used to call it back in the day, except it's actually just a computer monitor today, and saw you talking about societal behaviors and things like that, and the way we talk to each other sometimes.
Well, it isn't a gun community issue. It's a human issue.
Right.
Every freaking aspect of humanity reacts that way, it seems like.
And of course, what may be obvious as it relates to this is that is best seen visually through when other Americans, for various reasons, don't want to have a talk and just go straight to violence. And I'm referring to the some of the violent Antifa's marches that have gone on the past couple of years. That they have no interest in discussing. They have no interest in talking.
I was going to say, I ain't hit anybody in a long time.
So I read this post from the SOF Way over on Instagram, and Tony Cowden reposted it, and some pretty big names I've seen repost this, and it goes like this. Deno says, "This whole stop being poor trend in this community is both irritating and counterproductive. Our rights are being scrutinized like in no other time, and we are, in fact, losing."
Can I pause for a second?
Yes.
Yes, I do remember hearing you say that. I just don't want you to repeat it just for my sake.
Oh, okay. So, so we were kind of talking about this, about how it creates this divide in our community, and how we should be lifting each other up, focusing on bigger, better things than this minutia of, your gun, the name on your gun isn't the same as mine, or the color of your gun isn't the same as mine, or my gun costed 10 times more than yours, so your opinion isn't valid. Type of attitude that in this community, that's becoming a lot more prevalent, especially on social media. I don't think it's as prevalent in actual person, because everyone's so much tougher behind a keyboard and says things from behind a keyboard that they wouldn't say to someone in person. So it's definitely a more of a social media thing, I think, that has enabled this attitude and this characteristic. And I think that we're going to see some big changes in the community in a whole on social media, where a lot of people are, especially these bigger names, Hickok Jr., a lot of other people have been talking about this recently, that I think we're going to see some changes, that I think some of these bigger names are going to start setting an example for us to follow.
Yep, definitely.
So, Dano, is there any 2A news? And Tony, since you guys are both behind enemy lines there in Illinois, any 2A stuff going on there?
Well, I'll mention something that it hasn't been mentioned lately. I know Tony's fully aware of it. And this is not all the news in my lesser state of Illinois. But we are on the verge of losing private sales in our state as part of the FOID Revamp Act. FOID is Firearm Owner's Identification Card, that in Illinois, to purchase ammunition or any firearms you're required to have, in addition to filling out the federal 4473 and getting an approval via the ATF that you are still considered I'm doing air quotes, good guy or good gal, to be able to do anything. And in our state, we have for many decades, in fact, it was before I was consciously, I don't know when exactly it changed, but certainly before I was conscious, maybe before I was born, we have not been allowed to have or possess, as normal citizens, NFA items. You can get the approval from the feds, but you're not approved from the state of Illinois. And if you live in Illinois, there is no suppressor, there is no SBR, there is no any of that stuff. Not if you're just a Joe Blow citizen. Now, manufacturers, different story. Specialty niches like that.
Yeah, you can make them here and send them elsewhere. Just can't have.
Right. We've had red flags along, but part of that fix our FOID card system is some tweaks to our red flags, i.e. more of them, And of course, what I always find ironic is the raising of fees. Typically, for this infringement, we paid, I believe it's $10 for 10 years. And now they want to raise it by 500% for half the time. And so if you really want to look at it perspective, it's 1,000%, but because for 10 years, instead of being $150, that would be $300 for 10 years.
Our biggest hope right now is that the court declares the Boyd system unconstitutional. Otherwise, we're going to be screwed.
Our state house, our state senate, and our state governor are all drooling at the mouth to sign as many as many gun control bills as possible. Period.
Now, for some reason, and I don't know why, the Senate dragged their feet and shoved that thing off to committee. So it's not going to come back up until October anyway.
Right. But it's not dead either.
No.
And these things, I know Tony knows, so I'm not really talking to him, but these things are recycled, even if they, don't necessarily get pushed through all the way in that legislative year. They are simply recycled and reinserted into the system in the next legislative year. So they never really go away. And this is, for us in Illinois, is like the perfect storm of, for the next couple of years, it's just a matter of how they're going to run over our rights. I'm trying to, by the way, for the general audience, during the daytime, I want to institute a new guideline just for myself. And that's to be a little bit more PG rated and try to hold back the horses on my passion, which sometimes where I slip. But anyway, that's why I used the word I used. So enough of that.
And when you're passionate about something like we are, our gun rights and our guns, it can be hard to do that, and it can be hard to police ourselves, right?
I don't do PG. This is America, freedom of speech. I'll say what I want.
Well, and that's why I say just for myself.
That was one of the fundamental things behind the start of the early watch.
Well, right. That was then. This is now, though. This is not the same early watch.
Well, no, I try to maintain for myself a PG-13, which is I talk about, like, I'll cuss, I guess. I'll let, especially when I'm passionate about something, I'll like cuss words slip out and all that. I still want something that if my kids walked into the room while I'm sitting here talking about something, I don't want to have to feel like I have to stop what I'm saying because they're in that room now, or I would be embarrassed if they overheard me saying something, right? I want to be of that that's what the mentality I try to be. So if I can't say that in front of one of my sons, then I probably don't want to say it on here. That's what I'm trying to go by. To police myself, and everyone's different, and everyone has to make their own judgment call on that.
Yep.
I hope to get Jimmy back in here sometime soon so we can actually discuss this out in public.
Discuss what?
Why we did what we did with the early watch.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I've sent Jimmy several links. I've been waiting for him to hop in. Actually, I'll send him the link for today too, right now. And
he and I actually sit and discuss the language stuff on the show, and was adamant that it wasn't filtered.
Okay.
Well, you can't say that, Tony. So if you're talking about just cussing, yes, but I bet you that there are things that you would probably not want talked about on here, or that you wouldn't talk about on here, or that you wouldn't want to listen to. I can think of many things that I don't necessarily want to bring up right now, but when you think about it, there are going to be some social norms, right? So, like, are there certain things that you would, let's say, not talk about in line at Walmart, or in church, or in the gun store? I mean, there's just certain, like, social taboos and things that just might not be appropriate in certain places, right?
I I don't think it was a shock value type of thing as much as it was a rights thing. And Jimmy was more hardline on it than I am.
Right. But this is not Jimmy's show anymore. Jimmy has decided for whatever reason no longer to participate in, and he's welcome to come
Well,
back.
actually, no. I want Jimmy to come back. Actually,
Right.
like that's the
But
whole
until
thing.
he
is I
does,
just- yeah.
you don't have a vote if you're not there to
I'm
raise
talking
your hand
about-
or lower your hand.
I'm talking about how it started.
Gotcha. And that would be an interesting show just to do. How did you guys start the show and what you decided to do and things you learned for better, for worse, or whatever.
Man, I would love to have Jimmy come back, even if it was just for one show here and there, and just let him and Tony do their thing. I mean, I would absolutely just love that.
But for better or for worse, at least I view this, and I may be absolutely wrong, but this is a early watch 2.0. This is not to pick up where you guys left off.
Actually, this is a placeholder until Jimmy gets back.
And that's how I've been looking at it. Is I
Well,
just didn't want to let early watch die
I mean,
because that's the
and that's fine. But now that it's been more than months, it's now been greater than a year. I mean, at some point you have to move forward, and if he wants to come with us and join you guys, that's great. But you can't expect the world to stop just because things in your life didn't continue to go the way that they were. I don't expect the world to stop for me.
That's good because it sure as hell ain't going to.
Exactly. That's my point. Thanks for making it, Tony.
So I got
Anytime.
some numbers here coming out of London. And so London, of course, we know how they are. They've banned guns, all sorts of stuff. And then recently they've banned knives. And the London's homicide rates has surpassed that of New York. It has a 100% increase since 2017. So the London murder rate has increased 100% since 2017. Granted, this is after they have banned guns and, for all intents purposes, banned knives. The mayor of London is quoted as saying, "No excuses. There is never a reason to carry a knife. Anyone who does will be caught and they will feel the full force of the law." So don't worry about them coming for your guns because they're going to come for your knives, your hammers, your saws. I mean, they're going to come for everything. They're not just going to stop with the guns. The guns are what protects them from taking all those other things.
How the hell can they have an increase in the murder rate when they ain't got nothing to kill each other with?
Yeah, well, as we know, that just be making something illegal doesn't make it so someone can't get it or use it.
Or make it.
Laws don't stop crimes; they just punish them. So London and New York had comparable populations too, but London has surpassed New York City. I mean, and it's gone up 100% since they've outlawed guns and stricter gun control and then outlawed knives. Man, just not looking good for our cousins over across the pond.
And to the point, pun intended, in the other direction, I heard a report just yesterday. I don't know if it was last week or last month, but in Japan, there was a man that had gone and attacked a group of school children waiting to get on a bus with a knife. And he had injured 14, and unfortunately, 4 others did not make it. But this simply goes to show that eliminating one tool does not eliminate the source of the problem.
Exactly.
But it's, for some reason, and maybe because it doesn't have a simple answer, and that's probably is the answer, we don't want to deal with that as a society.
Come on,
Not directly.
Come on, people, get your freaking fingers out of your damned ears. There was killing long before there was guns or knives.
I
I'll be right back.
I see that they're taking the tools out of the people's hands that can be used to protect themselves, and that's why I see the crime rate going up 100, or the murder rate going up in London 100%. You take away their guns, you take away their knives. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I read somewhere they can't even have pepper spray over there. They can't even use pepper spray. That if they, let's say if they get mugged and they spray the guy with pepper spray, that they can get in trouble. And I'm not sure, I'm not specific that was in London, but I know I read about that in somewhere in Europe over there, that's the way it was. So I'm not sure, I'm not positive that's the same in London, but I mean, they're literally taking away any tool you can use to defend yourself and telling you, oh, the police will protect you, we will protect you. And I see case after case of failure to keep that promise.
Well, it's an impossible promise to keep.
Well, exactly. It is 100% impossible to keep. So currently, Londoners caught with a knife that's more than 3 inches can face up to 4 years in prison and an unlimited fine. Unlimited fine.
Is that total length or blade length? Because
more than 3 inches. I'm assuming that's blade length. Usually when they talk about knives, it's always blade length, I think. As far as the laws go.
my whittling knife's okay then, but the one I carry to use all the time ain't.
There are some exceptions, such as if you're transporting a knife you just purchased, or if you can show a need for carrying one. But good luck with that. So I guess you can get a knife carrying permit?
For a chef.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it's not high-end chefs actually bring their tools to and from work because they're their tools, much like a mechanic at an auto dealer. Those tools that you see your mechanic working on your car from that big giant red tool chest, those are the mechanics. Those are not the dealers. And it's the same thing at a higher level restaurant. The chef's tools belong to the chef, not the restaurant.
London is adding 300 more duty officers to the Metropolitan Police to perform a stop and frisk service just to look out knife carriers. So they're adding 300 police that are going to do nothing but go around and target people and stop and search operations just to find people carrying knives.
Do you ever think that this world is going absolutely freaking insane?
Often.
We're living in the Matrix, obviously.
But but to be fair, part of it is that I think for all three of us, I can say that because we lived in the pre-internet age, where a lot of this stuff was either highly delayed or it was so old by the time it came to the U.S. it just either didn't get reported or were so far back that it never got read.
Which means the same damn thing. Highly delayed.
Mm-hmm.
So then another thing I would like to talk about is today marks the 75th anniversary of D-Day.
Yes,
So that's a big milestone number, the 75th anniversary.
I posted a thing about that on Gun Channels a while ago.
So the heroism, courage, and sacrifice of those who lost their lives will never be forgotten. June 6th.
The ones who just lost their lives, everybody that was there. I mean, granted, there's a lot of people that gave up their lives. But
Well, that's where the heroism, courage, and sacrifice of those, yeah. June.
I was just going to say, Go ahead.
June 6, 2019 marks the 75th anniversary of D-Day, a milestone that is expected to represent the last large gathering of D-Day veterans around the globe. The youngest D-Day vets are in their middle 90s now. A few more years will find the last of them gone from us. To mark this milestone and take advantage of the opportunities and discussion and commemoration it presents, the National D-Day Memorial in Bedford, Virginia will observe the 75th anniversary with 6 days of ceremonies, interviews, and much, much more. So I'm really looking forward to what comes out of this because they're exactly right. There's probably very limited time to get some of these stories and interviews and actually see or meet these people left, the ones that are left.
What I was going to mention that I think is possibly noteworthy for those of us that have never been in a war, let alone been in anything even remotely similar to that, to get a better appreciation for what fathers, grandfathers, or great grandfathers may have gone through. And this is what I'm told by active duty vets that have been in what I refer to as the sand wars, and that's Iraq and Afghanistan, when things weren't going well. And that's there's a scene in Saving Private Ryan, not the movie itself, but just the scene of storming the beach, and the attrition rate, and how death was just a fraction of a second away for everyone, and the intensity of it.
And I'm not saying we shouldn't honor the people who lost their lives there, but the people that didn't and went on in and did the fighting should be just as honored.
Well, they are. They definitely are.
I don't think there's anybody saying that's not true. I mean, but there's a reason that we have Memorial Day versus Veterans Day, and they are two separate days.
Right, I get that.
But we're talking specifically today about the storming of the beach, which involved both groups. Those that made it to D2, but may not have made it to D3, and those that day one didn't make it to dinner.
Can you imagine how scary that had to be?
And that's why I mentioned about the visual for people that either want to check it out themselves or have seen Saving Private Ryan, just that one scene of storming the beach as being the closest representation as to what it looked like per these veterans' recollections.
And I watched an interview with one of these veterans, and they said that was like probably the most realistic interpretation that they had seen, was that Saving Private Ryan beach scene.
Yes.
I personally am not a person who's scared very easily. That would have scared the shit out of me.
I doubt there was a single person in their right mind who wasn't scared that day.
Yeah.
I mean, just when you actually, there's some really good videos about D-Day out there and some animations that kind of show it from a larger map perspective, actually how big that operation was in whole. And it's really hard to put in perspective how many men and how big that operation really, really was. I mean, I can't even imagine. I really can't imagine like coming out of one of those boats like that. Man.
I can't either. I just know it had to be scary as all hell.
All I know is I'm very, very thankful that there were men brave enough to, put their lives on their line and to sacrifice their lives for us and for our freedom.
Yes, I am too.
So on that note, I'm going to change the subject here. So let's see. Are anti-gunners against criminals owning guns? Tony, Dano, are anti-gunners, are they against criminals owning guns? They obviously don't want law-abiding.
They're against anybody owning guns except themselves.
Well, not necessarily, because those are the poor and the disadvantaged, of which a lot of the liberals like to do too, for i.e. getting votes from their family members that are allowed to vote. So I'm going to say it's a mixed bag.
So the Open Borders House passes 236-187. So it says basically contact your rep and vote them out. Yes, vote. A mass amnesty bill, which would give millions of illegal immigrants green cards, voting rights, that are criminals, including gang members and people who have committed potentially serious crimes with multiple DUI convictions, with misdemeanor firearm-related convictions. Dems are prioritizing mass amnesty over public safety. So have you guys heard about this bill?
I do have a question
about it.
that does have to do with the bill, and it, just for my edification, is I was not aware until just the past couple of years. I mean, like 2 years, that people that were not citizens had the right to vote, period. I thought that was a citizenry right. Has that never been the case? Have I just been alluded to?
No, that's been the case, but they local places have made changes to allow that. I believe, California. And
Yeah, walk in, vote Democrat, and you're a citizen.
But for federal elections, I mean, I understand how a local municipality or state may be able to do for their state elections, that sort of thing. But I don't understand how they could give a ballot that contains a federal offices to those same people, and the state not being compliant in violating the Constitution.
I'm not sure, but I think this bill has part to do with that, to give them amnesty so they can become citizens.
Right. You got the cart before the horse a little bit, Dano. They're wanting to give them amnesty so they can vote.
And it's another reason to say, yeah, come on up here to encourage more illegal migration, because you don't have to stand at the back of the line. Come on up here, come approve. We got a shortcut system.
So HR 6 would basically give amnesty and to these people, and almost, it doesn't say like expunge their record or anything, but it does mention that that they would be like these people who have convictions, like criminal convictions that would prevent any American citizen from owning a gun. It would now allow illegal immigrants to own guns under this that have those same exact convictions and those same exact crimes on their record. So I mean, that's really two-faced when a regular citizen that's already here, if they've been convicted of one of these crimes, they would not be able to buy a gun. But now, if you basically become a citizen, they're in order to become a citizen, they're willing to expunge your record if you're an illegal immigrant, so you can become a citizen. And I mean, that's really, really two-faced. Donald Trump's cabinet has already said that he would veto that legislation. So we'll see how that turns out. I was just wondering if you guys had heard about that, and it's posted over there on 2020 America Matters. And but yeah, I read that. I was like, I thought anti-gunners were against criminals owning guns, and I was like, yeah, I thought they were against everyone owning guns, but apparently not. As long as you're willing to vote Democrat, they will give you amnesty and let criminals have guns, I guess.
Well, I don't know. This has been kind of floating around for a while, the whole amnesty thing. And no, it's wrong. But with what Trump wants to do, there's some of that I disagree with too. I do not agree with the merit-based system of letting people in this country. It's not what this thing was founded on. You come over here legally, you should have the same shot to make it here as anybody else.
So, I just for clarity, so that for people that have skill sets that we don't either have enough people like them or we may not have someone like them. You don't want those people coming in this country.
That's not what I said at all.
Well, that's why I'm asking for clarity. That's all. I'm not accusing you of anything.
I'm saying that you shouldn't let people in here just because they have those.
Give us you're tired, you're weak, you're poor.
And we do, and we have systems set up for that. It does require a line. It does require qualifications to be met.
There is a legal process that's been in place.
Amazon package for 24 hours, let alone their citizenship. Is it any surprise that they're not willing to wait on the other line of the border?
Well, I'm pointing more just towards the gun focus of this, and not so much the illegal immigrant focus.
Okay.
But just of illegal immigrants who have been convicted of rapes and assaults and batteries and all sorts of other crimes that would make us instantly unable to own a gun. They're going to give these guys amnesty and basically expunge their records now. And now they're a citizen, and since their records expunged, so they can, because I don't believe you can become an American citizen if you basically have like a felony here already, or if you have if you came over here as an illegal immigrant and you get a felony here before you become a citizen. I think that prevents you from becoming a citizen. Or if you have a felony or an equivalent of a felony in Mexico or whatever country you're coming from, that can prevent you from becoming a citizen here. So they want to give these guys amnesty, expunge those records, and then with that would let them legally be able to buy a gun, even though they still had committed a crime that would prevent any of us from doing the same. So I think it's that's the point I really wanted to focus on, was just that the Dems are all for criminals having guns as long as they get that vote, is basically the way I'm seeing it.
Well, they're not going to have guns if they ban them from all citizens.
Well, it's just the fact that criminals, like known criminals who have committed violent crimes and just despicable crimes and stuff, might be able just to go legally buy a gun. The same type of people that that even gun owners themselves don't want to have guns. The Dems are allowing this, or at least want this.
But the Dems' end game is nobody gets to buy a gun, so.
Well, I think it's so that they can have more gun crime, to point more towards if you give a whole bunch of known criminals guns, I don't think that they're necessarily going to stop committing crimes because they were legally allowed to buy a gun now. If they're already a criminal, I mean, that's probably going to aid into more murders and crimes and stuff like that, I'm thinking. So that might be like a way of them being like, oh, like we don't have enough gun stuff going on in this country. We need more. How do we do that? Oh, let's give a whole group of criminals guns. So I just putting that out there.
That's kind of a stretch because it ain't going to happen while Trump's in office.
Well, that's true. That's true. But that's what I'm just saying, that might be the reason behind it, that their thought process. I'm just trying to understand their thought process. If they're so against this, the average American having guns, why would they want to basically expunge these records and give amnesty to all these other criminals?
Well, that has an easy answer. They're trying to get the easy vote, the low hanging fruit for themselves.
Buying votes.
Yes. And at this juncture, I just want to take an administrational time off for a moment. I'm going to need to head out here to go have some car stuff done. I may try to jump in if you don't, depending on when you end the show a little bit later. But Dead Horse, did you see some of the stuff I put in the side for maybe a future show?
I did. I bookmarked those. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Hopefully I'll be able to jump back in later. If not, you guys have a great day, and those listening, go forth and conquer. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dano.
Later, Dano. I listened to a radio podcast this morning from talk show host out of St. Louis talking to one of the board members from Illinois' Effingham County. And according to him, we're almost at 70 sanctuary counties. But he was talking about the whole Void the Void bill. And it sounds like that's going to start taking the same path as the sanctuary county bill did. So be prepared to hear me harp on that frequently.
Oh, definitely keep us updated on that.
But a correction, see, I always said that Effingham County started, but that guy said they got the idea from a resolution done in Iroquois County, so I stand corrected. I mean, Effingham was the first one to pass the gun sanctuary, but they got the idea elsewhere.
I don't care where they got the idea from, as long as they're doing it. Like, I'm all for that. And things like that give me hope when you tell me, like, 63 counties or whatever have our sanctuary, and that gives me a lot of hope, especially in a place like Illinois.
Yeah, it's probably
it helps me not lump all of Illinois into the whole Chicago thing. It helps me distinguish the two and not just demonize all of Illinois for a lot of Chicago's faults.
Most of the counties with bigger cities in them are the same way as Chicago. Peoria County, whatever counties are up by the Quad Cities. I'm not sure about Champaign, but the county down around East St. Louis, St. Clair, they're not a gun sanctuary yet. But one city, or township, yes, in St. Clair County opted to be a gun sanctuary. And forgive me, I can't remember. I think it's O'Fallon. I can't remember what it is now. That's the price you get for being old.
So we have. Go ahead.
I was going to say, there's still movement forward on that shit here in Illinois.
So have you heard about the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus the City of New York?
I have not.
So 11 years of ignoring the Heller decision is more than enough. Gun bans increase murder rates, this says. So New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus the City of New York gives the Supreme Court its best chance to stopping city, states, and lower courts from thumbing their nose at the Second Amendment. The late Justice Scalia wrote, "We know of no other enumerated constitutional right whose core protection has been subject to a freestanding interest-balancing approach. The very enumeration of the right takes out of the hands of government, even the third branch of government, the power to decide on a case-by-case basis whether the right is really worth insisting upon. This is why the Supreme Court needs to seize the opportunity before it. The lower courts have proven they are not willing to protect our right to keep and bear arms, just like they did pre-Heller. When Heller was handed down in 2008, it effectively overruled 9 different circuits. The Supreme Court has the chance to reinforce the 11-year-old message to the lower courts. The Second Amendment is not to be weighed against governmental interests. The people have a natural right to keep and bear arms. Courts must consider that right as important as our founders and framers did. Until this happens, governments across the Republic will continue to ignore our rights, and the lower courts will not stop them." that comes from 2020 America Matters. So what do you
Well,
think about?
It's about damn time. I mean, you can just look at the example of the ninth and see how they absolutely ignore the Second Amendment. But something I seen, and I don't remember which the other court was, but the ninth and I think the fourth had very similar cases come before them, and the ninth ruled one way and the fourth ruled the other. And the Supreme Court's going to have to weigh in on that at some point. And it's a 2A thing, but I don't remember what it was. Because you can't have two of your appellate courts with opposing views.
Let's see. I'm just reading this. So the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, this lawsuit, this is the where New Yorkers can't, they can't basically leave the city. They can't travel around with their guns. They can only like go to and from a range, stuff like that. I believe this gets. I want to say it was coming up here later this June, here in a couple weeks when that's going to be heard. I believe. So that basically this says here that this is our best chance right now is for our Supreme Court to hear this case, and then where the ruling they make on this case will affect, the entire land, so to speak, and might institute a guideline to follow. And prevent these lower courts from trampling our rights, and lower state governments from trampling our Second Amendment.
Well, I've certainly been waiting for that shit to happen. When the initial thing I was talking about earlier, where the two courts had opposing rulings, I thought they would look at it then, but no.
Well, no, and like this article says, that we've kind of waited long enough, and that our rights have been trampled on long enough, and this is an opportunity that the Supreme Court could seize right now. And I think it depends on how they rule on this, like how they actually rule on this, not just yay or nay, but how they actually write the ruling is how it can affect the whole country. From my understanding, I might be getting this wrong, but from my understanding, depending on how, not just, like I said, yay or nay, but how they actually write the ruling could affect the entire country.
Right.
And
when they did the Heller decision, they really fucked up there by including in their statement that there was room for some gun control or in some form like that.
And then that's the banner that these anti-gun, municipalities have been running under, right?
Yep.
So we could definitely institute some change there. Would it be wise of us for us to contact some Supreme Court members and let them know how the American people feel?
Honestly, I don't know how that works.
I'm guessing that we could. I'm guessing there would probably be a, on either WhiteHouse.org or something like that, a link to the Supreme Court over there or something. And I'm sure that they have emails available. I'm sure they have to have something like that, or a phone number we could call. Or I'll dig into that. I'll see if I can find where we can go contact the Supreme Court at to leave a message or an opinion. I'm sure they have to have a phone number, email, an address to send the letter to, something like that. There has to be something like that put in place, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that was probably a good idea, but like I said, I just didn't know how that part worked. God knows I write enough letters to Dick Durbin to I could take some time to write to the Supreme Court. Because every letter I write to Durbin is a waste of freaking time, but I still do it.
See here. So those are my 2A stories that I have for today. Have you heard anything else out there anywhere, Tony? Any other 2A news, anything like that or relevant?
No, I haven't heard anything except for the bit I talked about a minute ago about the radio talk show in Effingham County and the Boyd the Boyd thing.
So I did see something. I didn't get a chance to actually read it or listen to anything, but I did hear something about the Virginia governor. I want to say it was anti-gun stuff, but like I said, I didn't pay close enough attention to it when I saw it go past my eyes there. But the Virginia governor was, I want to say it was anti-gun, like trying to push some anti-gun legislation since this last murder that took place. Have you heard anything about that?
Very vaguely, I think I have. No, most of my time at 2A stuff lately has been focused solely on Illinois.
And that's understandable. You got your hands kind of full there right now.
Up until they went out of session here a few days ago, we had an unknown number of things trying to be shot through here. Pardon the pun.
All right, so here's an article here. So it says Virginia Governor Ralph Northam announced Tuesday he will summon lawmakers back to the state capitol this summer to take up a package of gun control legislation, saying last week's mass murder in Virginia Beach calls for votes and laws, not thoughts and prayers. Northam, a Democrat faced with a gun-friendly Republican-controlled General Assembly in the middle of a legislative election year, also said he wants every lawmaker to go on record for or against his proposals during the special session, rather than avoiding tough votes by quietly killing the bills in subcommittee. The nation will be watching, the governor said, 4 days after the Virginia Beach employee, I'm not going to say his name, used 2 semi-automatic handguns, a silencer, and an extended ammunition magazine to slaughter 12 people at a municipal building, and then was killed in a gun battle with police. Northam's bills include a ban on silencers and high-capacity magazines, as well as broadening the ability of local governments to prohibit guns in city buildings. The governor said he also wants mandatory universal background checks for gun purchases, a limit of 1 handgun purchase per month, and a red flag law that would allow authorities to seize weapons from people deemed a threat to themselves or others.
Damn, the liberal laundry list to gun control.
Who would have imagined? Because I'm sure if he would have had all these laws in place, I'm sure that would have stopped those murders, right?
You know, what's the odds of if, say, 4 or 5 people in that building happen to be carrying a gun, that the carnage might have been reduced?
Oh, dramatically. Even the FBI statistics, we talked about that the other day, right? Even the FBI says that would have been reduced. That we're 94% effective at stopping them when we're armed, when a citizen is armed. 94% effective.
I'm sure that it's a hell of a lot more effective than you would be unarmed.
Yeah, I guarantee that. But But literally, I look at these, you know, the ban on silencers, right? You know, well, even if silencers were completely illegal, someone can make their own. That's not something that's, you know, can't be made by a trip to a grocery store or a, you know, a hardware store. High capacity magazines. I mean, there's plenty of, you know, videos showing out there that there's really not a whole lot of difference between a 10 round and a 15 round magazine. I mean, it's
Well,
that's just minutia at that point when you can change magazines and or whatnot. That's just minutia. I don't think that would have made a difference if the guy had 10 round, 12 round, 15 round. I don't think that number matters
I
at
can tell
all.
you, here in Illinois, all the NFA stuff is illegal here. We can't have silencers or short barreled rifles or any of that stuff.
And then the law of prohibiting guns in city buildings is, so if you make it illegal to bring a gun in a city building, is that going to stop a bad guy? Would that have stopped this guy? I don't think he would have gone, oh my gosh, I can't bring this gun into the city building. Okay, I'm not going to do this mass murder today.
Well, I thought
I don't think that would have happened. Mandatory universal background checks. The guy went through background checks. I don't think that would have stopped him. The red flag law. I haven't heard anything come out about any, you know, red flags that were raised, you know, before this guy did this. Not one thing they're trying to push through on this would have stopped this or prevented this or done anything. Well, a bill that they could push through that would have actually stopped this guy is encourage or you know that you know, or make it legal for, you know, those people to have their own guns in those city buildings. That's one law that would have actually affected change.
I saw something this morning that said that that guy was in there going after superiors.
I don't know. I haven't really. I've had so much of this. I haven't really looked into this I've kind of stayed out of this whole mass murder thing in Virginia. I haven't looked into it at all. I'm just talking about this specifically because it has anti-gun laws trying to be passed because of it. So I'm more concerned about the anti-gun laws than I am the murder that took place. And I just kind of want to confront the fact that none of these laws that they're proposing, these anti-gun laws that they're proposing, would have stopped this crime or changed it in any way, shape, or form. But one simple thing on the books, like, oh, our employees are allowed to carry guns here and not have to be risk of discrimination or firing or anything for having a gun. Having something like that on the books would have prevented this crime, I think.
Well, it certainly could have.
Well, yeah, it certainly could have, yeah. And that's the thing I really want to go after here with this is just not a single one of these anti-gun laws would have changed this outcome. Not a single one would have changed it in any way, shape, or form. And yet they're trying to push this garbage down our throats. And we need to call these guys out on this, and we need to pull together as a community. We need to go help Virginia right now. We need to be sending what's this governor's name again? Governor Ralph Northam. We need to be blowing up his email or his office with phone calls. It doesn't matter that we don't live in Virginia. We don't have to live in Virginia to call this governor's office and voice our disdain. Imagine this governor's office getting over 1 million phone calls this next week from pro-gun people telling him that well, maybe we shouldn't tell him he's an idiot. We should do it in a nicer way, but telling him that, you know, nothing you are proposing here would have helped. Nothing would have changed the outcome.
I think it would be more helpful to contact the legislators and tell them that, you know, you should stand by the Second
Well,
Amendment.
them too, yeah. Like we could very easily put together a blanket email, something that we can just copy and paste, and then just fill in the name of whoever it's addressed to. and send that to everyone involved in that in Virginia. Hopefully, we can maybe get someone from Virginia in this chat or on Gun Channels that has some more insight to this and can tell us, guide us on who to contact, how to contact, where to contact, and that would be a good thing. But Virginia needs our help right now, guys. So just keep Virginia in your mind that we should be paying close attention to Virginia and helping them not let these bills pass.
So does Illinois. So we need to get everybody out there to say, make Chicago its own state. That would be the best thing on earth that could happen to Illinois.
And G-Webs is saying out there that we need to also we need to post this stuff on Every Second Matters. Yes, we do. And that linking to the emails, forms, firearms policy, I think FPN, firearms policy, and then the GOA have set up. And so then at the end of every show, we can have these links and resources on E2M. So that is a good idea that we can I can post this stuff during the show over on Every Second Matters, and then give people a place to find these stories and find these where we can share this information on, like where to help, where to contact in Illinois, where to contact in Vermont when these bills are going through. That is a very good idea.
That's kind of the idea of starting the whole early watch, whatever state abbreviation that Gmail was about.
Well, that's what I really appreciated about Early Watch is that, it was something I could listen to, and you and Jimmy would run through these gun stories from all around the country, and I would hear about stuff that I didn't hear about anywhere else. I didn't hear it on the news. I didn't hear it on the radio. It's all of a sudden you guys would just be pulling rabbits out of your hats, and I was like, wow, I never heard about this. I never heard about that, and so I definitely appreciated that. So that's really what I want to try and keep Early Watch about. It's just the actual 2A news. Unfortunately, more often than not, it's negative news, and I have a really hard time finding like the good news. I mean, that's what I'm struggling on. That's what I need help with, guys. So everyone out there watching, what I need help with is coming up with good stories, and so it's just not filled full of 2 hours of negative anti-gun stuff being shoved down our throat, which we need to hear about that. We need to know about that. That is very, very important. But I would like to have some, lighthearted or pro gun stories in there. And I really think it's part of the media bias, and Google buries those stories, and unless it happens specifically in your local area and you know about it, I think it's hard to find those stories. I mean, I have to dig so hard just to find like one good pro 2A story. It seems like all my searches that I've been using, I've been trying to be real creative with my searches and my wording on my searches, to try and find good guy with the gun stories and stuff like that, and it's hard. I know they're out there, but it's really hard to find the I guess the silver lining, so to speak.
Well, I'm going to tell you, or give you a piece of advice that me and Jimmy learned while we was doing it. That's, you should take a day or two a week off of that. You just do like.
And that's what I was thinking about Free for All Fridays. Looking
at this every day starts to wear on you. I actually had to force myself to go look for stuff now because I got to the point where I hated it because I was always pissed off.
It definitely can affect you when you're, especially when you're passionate about something and you're really against something like these, anti-gun laws going through Virginia and stuff like that, and you're hearing these governors of a state like Virginia who are I'm pretty sure Virginia has a pretty good pro-gun track record. I think. At least I want to say. I really haven't heard a bunch of anti-gun stuff coming out of Virginia before. So I want to say that they had a pretty good track record, but when I hear governors saying these things, I mean, and we're passionate and we care about what we're about these things, it's hard not to let it affect you, and I haven't figured out how yet to just not let it affect me. It upsets me. It gets me, I guess, kind of riled up, probably raises my blood pressure a couple points. And, and I try not to carry that with me throughout the day, but I know in some way, shape, or form, it's probably messing with me. And
When you do figure out how to deal with it, please share.
I'm sorry, what was that, Tony?
I said, when you do figure out how to cope with it, please share.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing: whiskey's not the way.
I tried that and made a complete ass of myself in Rick's show. I think I don't remember it.
If you don't remember it, it never happened. It's okay.
I don't know. It's recorded, so it's out there.
No, and we don't want to be carrying this, and letting it affect us in our daily lives and affecting our family lives and stuff like that. So, I try and like the way that I've been dealing with is I have a painting of Robin Williams over my dining room table. And I use the reason why I have Robin Williams up there is he's a comedian I really admire. I've always found him just super, super funny guy. And that's there to remind me to find the lightheartedness and the humor and things and all that. And so that's, so when I get off of something like Early Watch or something, I try and like maybe watch a comedy stand-up routine or something funny, something happy, something, to try and change over my attitude and try and get a smile on my face. And that's what I've found to be most effective. It's not always effective, but it is just trying to get my mind off that and just put a smile on my face. And
Well, people have been mentioning in the side chat and on YouTube that the show's different. Well, I can tell you how the Early Watch was and why it was the way it was. Jimmy and I would log on, and for the first half hour, we wouldn't go live. We would sit and discuss what we wanted to do and hash up which particular anti-2A stories we were going to deal with every fucking day. And you already start to show irked. And that's just how it happened. And eventually we decided, at one point we took a couple weeks off. Can't get away from doing the news because that's what the damn show's for. But man, it's such a downer to deal with that shit every day.
it is. It's definitely and I don't know. It's definitely hard to. It can be hard to leave some things behind, and some things probably affect people more than others. But some of these stories, some of these things, it can be kind of hard to, it almost makes you like it almost takes a piece of you. It takes a little bite out of you, And I don't want it to be like that.
I found it exceptionally disheartening how stupid people are. And I mean the blind masses out there that don't see what the hell's coming.
Like a ban on all of our knives, and we're not allowed to carry pocket knives anymore.
Well, I'm talking even farther than that. When they get to the point where we absolutely have no way to defend ourselves, we're all slaves to their grind. You see people talking about the beauties of socialism and stuff. Good Lord, people, don't you get that? How bad that really is. I
Oh,
ain't been down that rabbit hole. Too late in the day for that.
well, how about this, Tony? What's the last pro 2A, pro success story 2A related that that you heard about? Or there was a
The
2A win or a good guy with a gun story or whatnot. What's the last good thing that you heard that involved the 2A?
Now, bear in mind that this comes from Illinois, and the Illinois that is completely ran by Democrats. They have blank check at this point, is they have veto-proof majority. They vacated their session without passing any new gun bills, any more new gun bills. Now, how pathetic is that when that's what one considers to be good news?
So the last good news I heard, I think we talked about it on Monday, was a story from 2018, from September of 2018, almost a full year ago, that I never heard about until like maybe last weekend, where it was the FBI report that armed citizens are successful 94% of the time at an active, shooter event is, I guess, the wording they used. I
Well,
try not to put.
I'll bet you they're still digging the hole trying to bury that one.
I mean, I never heard about this. I never heard about it on the gun community. I never heard it brought up on gun channels. I didn't see it on social media. It took this story being out for a year and just being out for almost a year before I finally heard about that.
You
So
know,
I think it definitely was. I think there really is a somewhat of a bias out there in the media where they do bury a lot of the, whether it's statistics or pro 2A stuff or whatnot. I really do think that is something to do with that algorithm. I'm not sure how that works, but I think that is a real thing.
I'll tell you, here's something that really struck me, and it struck me really hard, was why the heck was it 3 or 4 freaking years later before we heard about the gun confiscations during Katrina?
That is true. I didn't hear about those until years and years later. But then again, I don't know if it was just, it's when you're relying on national news sources to relay local news from one part of the country. I mean, they're going to pick and choose what they want because the country's so big, so many people, so many cities, towns, states. They can easily pick and choose what stories they want to cover on a national news media. So unless you actually lived around Katrina, in like New Orleans and stuff like that, I mean, yeah, like none of us. I mean, I'm sure all the people who lived around in that area probably knew about it. They probably heard about it a lot sooner. But us, at least me, I didn't hear about that until probably 3-4 years after.
Right. And that, even it's in the internet age, you'd think that you'd heard something, even from like the people like Alex Jones. And it was absolutely nothing for years. And hell, they even have video of it. I don't know, man.
Well, let's see here. So so even using websites like GOA and FPC and stuff, I have hard times even finding pro 2A stories on there. And good guy with the gun stories. I mean, the last I guess good guy with a gun story on GOA was from back in February, and I know I've read about good guy with a gun stories well since then, since February. I've read multiple ones.
Well, if you go to the NRA magazine's websites, you can find them on there pretty there as frequently as anywhere else, I suppose. American Hunter or American Rifleman, I think. I know the NRA is a bad word these days, but still.
No, that's true. When I actually received a physical copy of American Rifleman every month, they would always have that front section and have like a good guy with a gun story or whatnot.
As far as getting news information, one of my favorite sources is AmmoLand.
AmmoLand. So that's one place I haven't really visited or even really. I've heard of it before, but I'm not very familiar with it at all. So tell me about AmmoLand, Tony.
It's a website that posts what they consider relevant gun news, and they have it divided up into sports, legislation, different venues of firearms, and they're not always right on top of things, because it just is what it is. But they are a decent source, or they were. I haven't been there I was in there, I think, last month once, but I haven't been in there since the early watch stopped the first time. Guns.com was a good one, but it's not so good anymore. It became a freaking catalog to sell guns. There's another one too. Hang on, let me look. I still have them all here. I just put them in a folder instead of having them on my desktop.
So I'm on ammoland.com, and let's see here. Has today's date. So most recent story. So yeah, their stories are up to date. June 5th, there was a bunch of stories posted yesterday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 8 stories posted yesterday. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, so they do actually have a couple, I guess, pro gun stories here. So let's see. So the FPC and the FPF joint challenge to Colorado gun magazine ban, file Colorado Supreme Court brief. So I don't know if any of you guys remember, Colorado instituted a 15-round magazine limit, and it's so you can't buy a magazine in Colorado that's more than 15 rounds, but you can legally travel outside of the state of Colorado, buy a high-capacity magazine, and then bring it back into your state and legally own it. So that's just really weird how that works. But it seems like the Firearm Policy Coalition is challenging this and challenging the 15-round magazine ban in Colorado, the FPC and the FPF. And this is good news because that law is just completely dumb and makes no sense when people can just drive right across the state line and buy one and bring it back legally. And I remember having to research all this for my uncle, and when he was getting an AR-15, and he wanted high-capacity magazines, and we basically found out that all he had to do is just drive up to Wyoming and buy them and bring them back, and he could legally have them, which just kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a 15-round, I guess, magazine limit.
Another source you want to bookmark is the Gun Feed.
The Gun Feed. Okay, I have not heard of this one. So the Gun Feed. Huh? Let's see. Tell me about this one, Tony.
It'll come up and be self-explanatory.
Okay.
It's more like scrolling. They'll put on a story and then the last one on the list drops out. There's a limited number of spaces on their page.
They have a gun cartoon of the day? This might be something. Gun cartoon of the day. Here, I'm going to script.
Those
What's
two are
that?
the ones I use the most.
So on their gun cartoon of the day, they have a picture of a gun-free zone sign. It looks like there's a father and a son there, and the son's asking, like, what's that sign about? The father says, it means that building is a soft target where law-abiding people can't protect themselves from the violent intentions of others. So that's pretty good. Oh, okay, I bookmarked this. That is good. I'm gonna definitely have to check this out. The gun fee, I've never heard of this before.
I don't even know where in the world I found it.
Who runs this? Who runs the gun feed? Is it a certain company? Are they selling something? Are they?
I don't know who does. I've not seen them trying to sell stuff. I mean, aside from advertisements on the page.
It's very, very simple. I kind of actually like the way that this is laid out.
Yeah, there's a lot more information right on the page there than there is on AmmoLand.
Oh yeah, and there's a bunch of information just right here. Then they have links to basically every gun store almost on here too, and just coupons
One
and
note on
forums.
I don't believe that they do much in the way of fact checking, so you want to run it through the prism of truth before you report on something from them.
Oh gosh, I can't even trust Google anymore to provide me the truth, Tony.
I have seen stuff that they proved or they posted that was blatantly wrong or turned out to be.
But if that turns out to be wrong, are they good about stripping it off their page, or
Yes.
do they just leave it up?
Yes, they. Seems to me that it goes away. God, to be honest with you, I don't remember checking on that. Well, at any rate, it's still a good source for articles.
No, definitely. I definitely save that to my bookmarks. I'd heard of AmmoLand before, but honestly, I thought that was just like probably like like a place you went to go buy ammo online. I just never even thought about checking it out.
Actually, when you're on the AmmoLand page, there's the ability to go into different sections of it that is pretty interesting. There's, they've divided things up. There's sporting stuff and whatnot.
Yeah,
in there.
ammunition, archery, competitive shooting, conservation, firearms, gun gear, gun rights, shooting industry. So yeah, they definitely have it divided up. So you can look under a certain segment. Like if you just want to read just about guns, you can, go look at reviews and stuff just about guns or gun rights or conservation. Yeah. The CG posted maybe newest video out there, a CZ52 bench review. Heck yeah. I wouldn't mind one of those guns. Let's see here. Yep, we are. I am going to link those sites we're drilling over. I was so busy checking them out because I haven't even checked these out before. So let's see here. Here's the link to AmmoLand. Here's the link to the gun feed over there. Those are actually really nice sites. Thank you, Joey. Especially, I'm really liking this gun feed one.
You're certainly welcome.
I threw those both out there on the YouTube and the gun channel site. Then let's see here. This is definitely going to help me with some content. Maybe with the with some of these the Pro 2A stuff too. Maybe not so much the gun feed, but the ammo land. That's where I'm seeing some more pro gun stuff. I like this.
Well, you had mentioned earlier about not knowing how me and Jimmy came up with the stuff every day. Well, that's how it was.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, because I'm seeing like a pro gun story right here. Secretary Bernhardt proposes increased access to hunting and fishing on 1.4 million acres. So President Trump is committed to expanding public access on public lands, and this proposal is executing on that directive by opening and increasing more access to hunting and fishing. So that's a pro 2A win right there, I think, or at least a pro 2A story. So I'm definitely seeing pro 2A story. So good. This will give me. I'm really happy I see this now. Thank you very, very much. This is definitely going to help.
Like I said, you're most welcome.
Ah, man, where? How come you tell me about this 15 shows ago, Tony?
Repressed memory, man.
Oh, let's see here. No, this is. So this will be awesome resource to use. Let's see here.
I am needing to wind this up.
Yep. I think, yep, it's past the top of the second hour. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Early Watch Free for All Friday. We'll be back tomorrow with Early Watch Thursday, because we switched days today, because today's America. We can do that. So we will be back with the Early Watch Thursday show tomorrow on Friday on 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. You have any shout outs, Tony?
No, I don't know of anything going on right now.
So there will be a lobby over on gunchannels.com, an open lobby of like-minded people that want to participate in the Second Amendment and talk about guns and pro 2A stuff and support and help each other. That will be over on Gun Channel shortly. So keep your eye out on that. And that's it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow.
Y'all have a good day.